But I think with you, like, talk about self-esteem of kids.
You know, and whenever you started talking about that, it actually reminded me of this time. So it's such a weird change between even when I was in middle school, and I'm now 27, and when I was in youth going through it, and we just started getting like texting. We all had flip phones and stuff, but now it's all like social media. So I remember one of the it was the first few months that I started doing youth. It was just me and my wife, and we were the only leaders. And at one moment, all of a sudden, one girl who was sitting off by herself just started bawling her eyes out, and then there were two other kids that just like went and hid somewhere, and I'm like, what just happened? What is going on? And I guess what had happened, you know, somebody took a picture of one person and said something about another kid and then sent it to everybody. And like in the matter of like 10 seconds, like her social life was destroyed. And, you know, these kids are like, oh man, we're going to be in trouble. So, and I'm like, what is happening? Like, how is this going on? And we put so much stock, or the kids and the adults too, we put so much stock in what people will think about us, and it travels so quickly. So like your social life or your status or whatever can be ruined in like a few seconds. And it's so weird. It's just it's such a strange thing now.
And it's rooted in not the fruits of the Spirit, but it's rooted in like they were making fun of that kid. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like that. And the best way to build your brand is by to build it on top of other people, right?
Yeah. That's what I do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I know.
I know. Having a parent.
I know. He's trying to use me right now to catapult into the next status. Little does he know I'm so low down there. he might be lucky if he reaches ground level.
I just want to look good by comparison.
Well, hey, at least I'm getting paid for this.
Right,
one, so
exactly.
Wait, what? It's funny. I've had this conversation with my daughter, who's now in high school, and we've talked about like what people think of her. And gosh, this is going to sound so on brand for me, but it's like, they don't matter. People's opinions don't matter, mm-hmm. and you shouldn't look at somebody else and say, I'm going to live or die by what they say about me.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You should look and say, I'm going to live or die by what God says about me.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right. So it's not that people don't matter, but we can't live in their wisdom. We can't live in their concept of identity. We can't live in who they say we should be, or even who they say they should be. Mm-hmm. We need to live in who God says we all should be.
Yeah,
right.
That's that building our house on the sand
mm-hmm.
thing, right? Because I mean, and again, like we keep correlating the youth to the adults. So for the youth, it's social status and like how many like whatever things are now. It's like, oh, I've Snapchatted this person back and forth 15,000 times, and that's like the big thing that's super important to like mm-hmm. youth now, and just like weird. Wow. It's just it's so different, but it's also the same. So it's that mm-hmm. for them. And then like, again, like we talked about, I like that you talked about at the beginning with the identity being in like our occupation or in like relationships and stuff like that. And a little backstory on me too. I guess a little bit of like my testimony has a lot to do with this whole thing. But about 8 years ago, I got married, and we did the whole like Dave Ramsey thing, and we were able to get out of debt, and we bought a house and put a bunch of money down on it. And we were able to save a whole bunch. And like, that was a lot of that stuff where it's like, I have so much stock in this relationship and in my house and in my occupation. Like, I'm doing well. We're on track to like pay off our house in like 10 years. It was all good, and you feel comfortable. And it's crazy because like at the 2020 mark, when COVID went on, I'm not going to go into a ton of details, but there were some not great decisions made. And within the matter of about like 2 or 3 months, all of those things were gone. We were on our way to a divorce, and the house, we had to get rid of it. And I was able to get some equity out of the house. This is a tangent, but I was able to get some equity out of the house, but then the transmission went out in my vehicle, and I had to buy a new car. So in the matter of 2 months, I was sitting there.
Now,
I'm like, I was sitting there, and I'm like, wow, mm-hmm. 2 months ago, I had so much stock in these things, and thank goodness for Jesus, because because if I didn't have Jesus and I didn't have stock in all those things were gone in 2 months, I would have had nothing.
Yeah.
It was nothing left. So,
And that sends people off the edge.
yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, it's wild, but it's so crazy that we work so hard for all these things and we pour so much into it, and then whether at fault of our own or at fault of another individual, that's the scary thing too. Is it's not just me that can jack stuff up. It's other people that can mess up. Somebody could spread a rumor about me at work and I lose my job, and then I'm I don't have my job. I don't have money coming in, any of that stuff. So I think that's the huge thing, is that we're building our house on the rock instead of building it on sand. And it's again, like I was saying in the first place, it's the building on what other people say about us, because they can think a million great things about us, and then they can say one thing, and it just destroys what we've built up for ourselves that other people say about us.
Right.
So.
Yeah, no, that's great. And thank you for being so open and candid in that conversation. But I think, you make some great points there about, when our identity is in Christ, and it's not in our marriage, or it's not in our finances, or it's not in our family, those are all things that we should care about.
Right.
Absolutely.
But we should be applying the filter of Christ to those things, not applying those things as the filter to our life.
Right.
And so, I know that there are people that will be out there will say, well, I don't need Christ to get through hardship. I can pull myself up by my bootstraps. Physically impossible, by the way. But, I can pull myself up by the bootstraps and make it work, right? A lot of people have gone through hard times, and without Christ have found a way to soldier on, so to speak. I hate to put you on the spot here, but what would you say to somebody who would say that to you?
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. Well, I think though, there's some truth to that. Like, I could make it. I've always believed that I could do anything. That God created me to be able to do anything, and then I could make it if everything fell apart tomorrow. But man, I don't want to do that alone. And I think that's maybe what I would say is, you don't have to. Right. You don't have to do that alone, because there's something more for you. And you don't have to rebuild. God can rebuild. Yes, you could rebuild. Yes, you could do those things, but you don't have to. Trust in God, redefine what success is, and live in Him. Let Him do it.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.